All right. Hello, Capricorn. How's everybody doing today? Hopefully your day's been going well. Can't wait to look at the energy for the. Oh, look at him! Apollo just burped from his breakfast. He's very happy to be with all of us today. Anyway, I just wanted to welcome all of you and wish you beautiful morning or evening, depending on where you're joining me. We're going to be looking at the next 6 to 8 weeks together. One of the things that I like to remind everybody is that it's all about free will. Let's put down this little baby and let him get back to sleep. So what I'm here to do today is to help empower you make the best choices. And we're going to look at possibilities. And to me, that's always exciting. And Capricorn is a great sign, so I can't wait to see what's coming through for you. I put my format here just so you can take a quick glance at how I like to organize everything. I like to begin with channeled messages. A lot of times people will say, when are you going to start the reading? That actually is the beginning of the reading for me because I like to work with spirit and energy and my guides. And so basically I'll do a psychic download first, then we'll get into the cards after that. And the Celtic Cross takes any shape or form it needs to. So rather than focusing solely on love or solely on career, nothing wrong with that. I just like to kind of have a more broad stroke so that we can see everything. And later, this will be available on replay and you can see all the chapters. And it's intended, because it's a longer reading, you can go back and rewatch particular portions if you'd like to. So I always go back and I manually enter in all the time codes and put in the video chapters. So all of that information is below. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going through the format because we'll have a chance to introduce each section before I do it. If you'd like to participate today, please hit the subscribe button. It allows you to chat in real time. It also helps this channel grow, so it's win-win for both of us. And I'll also be changing my time back to the normal schedule. It was previously 9 o'clock. I may put a poll to see if I should shift it 30 minutes or 60 minutes earlier than it was, maybe looking at 8 or 8:30, but I think I may just go with 9 because I've been getting up for so early for so long with this construction here that it'll be nice to have some normality. But hit the notification bell so that you know what's going on. And definitely join me on social media. That change will happen the first of next month in August. So stay tuned for more details, and I'll be moving if you haven't heard that around between the 1st and 2nd. So I should be back doing videos around the 3rd. So anyway, my schedule will be posted in the coming week or so. If you'd like to show some support in real time, you can do that through SuperChats, SuperStickers, or with the thanks button that appears usually about 24 hours after broadcast. So all of those are ways to show support. Quick note that there tends to be a lot of folks on social media that try to pretend that they're me. Remember, I don't offer private readings and I don't use direct messages. That's a really good way to know that it's a fake account if someone's messaging you. Let me know about it, report it, and ignore the message. That would be my advice, okay? With that being said, let's get ready for channeled messages today. So I had a really busy morning with respect to dreams. The first totem, however, came to me as I was walking Apollo, and the guides kept whispering buffalo to me, and I was like, okay, we'll look at that. And then it took me a little bit of extra time this morning to research the difference between bison and buffalo. So here in North America, and in America in particular, colloquially, we call bison buffalo, but they're not the same. So I'll be referring to most particularly like the African buffalo for today's totem, just as a little bit of clarification. I have a slide on it. Sorry, let me just have this full screen here. So today's spirit totem is comprised of two things, the buffalo and also rain, because no matter what I was looking at in dreams, I kept seeing rain and water. So I would say it's going to be important today, this week, rather, in this month, to kind of focus on the flow of energy and also kind of like where you are with that, being able to channel it. I didn't even put the magician card in here, but I always see the magician as a conduit card. Let's begin with your first of the two totems here, and I already clarified the difference between the two. So we're talking about true buffalo, not bison that are called buffalo. So I'm just going to kind of like not focus on North American buffalo for the sake of this to disambiguate it. So some fun facts, because I always like to look into a totem, particularly one that's kind of been whispered to me. Since it wasn't in dreams, it was just something that kept coming through. So I had to do some research on it. A lot of times in pictures or in paintings, you'll see a little bird on the back of a buffalo. And to me, this is a symbiotic symbol. The relationship legitimately is symbiotic because The birds get a free ride and they get a bunch of meals. They eat all kinds of parasitic insects that would be bothering the buffalo. The buffalo are a-okay with this because they're basically getting cleaned and it's like their little buddies up there basically. So there's this nice connection between the two. Win-win, symbiotic, nobody's upset with this exchange. And I thought there's a few different cards that show partnership in tarot, like the Lovers or the Two of Cups or the Six of Cups. I really like the Six of Cups because it's an elevated partnership. It's like best friend energy, or siblings that get along, like close bonds of family or of love or of marriage. And so there may be this opportunity over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks where you can really do more with someone else because they complement. It's not a competition. They're complementing, or they're bringing something, or there's a symbiosis there where you're both benefiting from the exchange. So be on the outlook for that. It should be something where it's equally beneficial, mutually beneficial. And in fact, there are certain things that only that person can do and you can do. And together it's much stronger. So it could be teamwork in love. It could be teamwork at work. I'm just looking at the beneficial sort of energy of it. And I think that's something to be on the lookout for. Okay. Another thing here, it's like the fourth bullet down, delegation, teamwork, and group dynamics are going to be really important. So even if you're not someone who considers themselves a super social or, outgoing person, particularly when it comes to things like work, it's probably going to be beneficial to explore that a little bit more. Okay. Hardy and strong. And I would also say resilient here. I think I put that as within the text here. So the African buffalo can basically flourish in many different habitats, from bushland to savannas to rainforests, as long as they're close to a water source, which then made sense because Spirit was showing me water and rain in my dreams, but then was telling me to look at the buffalo to kind of bring everything together. It's a very grounded symbol, and that's why I chose the Queen of Pentacles here. This is from the Lightseers deck. I love this illustration. And basically, the reason I chose the Queen of Pentacles is she's the mother card in the different suits. So each queen carries a different energy. She's nurturing, she's mothering and sort of maternal, and also is amazingly connected to you because she's great at project management, resource management. She has the Midas touch, or green thumb, you might say. And you can do all of this as long as you put some of that beautiful nurturing energy toward yourself. And that means that, well, we'll look at it in a couple of cards from now, that you may decide, I'll just fast forward, that you may decide to do something for you. So the Eight of Pentacles would be what I would select for this, which indicates school, knowledge expansion, training, mentorship, anything where you can get a little bit of something for you, for future development, or just for enrichment of the heart and soul, okay? So feed your mind. And the reason that this kind of connects nice with buffalo is they spend their day grazing, basically. And so the card that I would most associate with like beneficial grazing would actually be the Eight of Pentacles, because it's about learning and absorbing. And I just thought that was a really nice connection. And finally here, the fact that water is integral to the sort of general health and well-being of the main totem. Also, it's necessary for human beings as well. We actually can go longer without food than without water. Definitely focus on hydration. But then I thought in tarot of some different cards that are not in the minor arcana that carry with them water. And they're two of the most powerful cards here. The Star, which reminds me a lot of Aquarius there, because it's kind of like, even though it's an air sign, it's the water barrier. Some of you may have a strong Aquarius in your life here, but also what I like about it, the water is representative of energy and spirit and flow. And so the star is shining, and it's also connecting you to that sort of energetic flow. And both the Temperance Angel and the Star card have 1 foot on land and 1 foot in the water. And it's really important to remember that change happens one step at a time. And patience is what Temperance teaches us. Authenticity and basically being as true to one's self and one's voice as possible is what the Star teaches us. So it takes time to get into that authentic self, and you take a step at a time. You build one brick at a time. And the beauty of the Star happens with the temperance angel helping it out as well. So one step at a time, patience with yourself, patience with others, and again, always getting closer and closer towards that authenticity. Again, because water was everywhere, I would say hydration is key. And I did see some very specific warnings, like around, for some of you, it could be water damage. I was looking at a table that kind of had been covered in water and it looked like there was some wood rot or whatever. So just take a look at, for some of you that are homeowners or are in a place where you might be prone to floods, just get some insurance or make sure that everything is sort of sealed up, because it could be a literal sort of message for some of you. Most of us, we're looking at star and temperance, which is just energetic flow, paying attention to where we're being guided and also where we're being pushed. So I've been using my own living situation as an example. I've literally been kind of living in the tower and being pushed out, and I knew if I didn't get out, the next step would be that little guy that's falling out of the tower. So I wanted to take myself and transplant myself somewhere else. But I was paying attention to where energy was pushing me. So if consistently for like 4 or 5 months it's been nonstop distraction, it's time to move. So sometimes we get that in a more symbolic way, like in a work environment where morale is really low, the boss is very difficult, the job is not very fulfilling, and it's sort of like you're getting from all angles signs and symbols to try something new. Or in a relationship, it's always you trying to get the other person to listen, to meet up, to pay attention. And it's sort of like, why am I trying so hard when the other person is giving me 4 of Swords energy, right? They're just clocked out. So if you're getting no return on energetic investment, if you're getting a lot of friction from the environment, if you're getting a lot of mental frustration, 7 of Cups, you can't focus, then it's time. You're getting signs and symbols. Follow the flow. Likewise, if someone is continually saying, hey, I thought about you for this, or have you considered trying this, and it seems like doors are opening up for you in another direction, follow that as well. Follow where the energy is taking you. That's the spirit hand that we see in all of the ace cards, trying to nudge you in the right direction. Okay? I believe that is everything. Yes, it is, because we just did 1 out of order. So a fun totem. I don't think I've actually worked with buffalo before. I've worked with bison and probably called it buffalo, but not true buffalo. So it was kind of fun to look at that and learn a little bit more even about the difference between the two. It's one of my favorite things about doing what I do here. Spirit kind of pushes me to learn about different things through the totems each and every day. All right, let's get ready for the Celtic Cross. If you just joined, here's the schedule. I'm gonna pick some decks here. I had one sitting on the table, so I might, seems like your sign in particular sometimes likes the Green Witch deck here because it's kind of earthy. You can throw out a couple of recommendations if you want to. I'm gonna just randomly pick some ones that are calling to me. Since we were looking at the African Buffalo, I'll pull Afro-Goddess deck as well. Maybe Light Seers. Let me see if there's anything else here that is calling to me for you. And maybe Modern Witch, or let's see. Okay. All right, I feel like we have some good options with these 3. Okay, let me just zoom, or these 4. These are the ones I'm considering. So maybe we can choose between the Wild Unknown, the Light Seers deck, Afro-Goddess, and the Green Witch, because yeah, they're just kind of beautiful cards and they all have very different approaches. Okay, so let me set up the poll, and then you'll have a chance to, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Maybe for this one we could do Rachel True instead. I think it's a better match for this, so I'm gonna swap that one out. The True Heart Intuitive. That was a good suggestion. Okay, so we're stopping with these 4. Let me put a poll in. I just took a late suggestion on that one, so we'll take. I chose this because it's all animals. The other one that I could have done is Wild Wood, but this is the one that came to me, so it's okay. Wild Unknown for option 1. Option 2 is Light Seers. Option 3 is Afro-Goddess. And option 4 is True Heart Intuitive. They all have nice, wonderful illustrations and beautiful energy. Just a few cards from each in case you're not familiar with them. This is option number 1. basically is not even really Rider-Waite-Smith. It's just all nature and animals, and it's beautiful. And then I feature this a lot in my slides. This is a gorgeous deck with Rider-Waite-Smith, but also kind of a modern take on it. Afro-Goddess deck, I think many of you are already familiar with. Every card is a painting, basically. Just beautiful. One of the best indie decks that I own, and I like it quite a bit. It seemed appropriate for today. And then we had Rachel True's True Heart Intuitive here, which has a lot of connection to Rider-Waite-Smith, but then takes a few unique approaches to some of the tried and true cards. So go ahead and vote on that. I'm going to refill my drink here in the background, a little bit of tea while you're figuring that out. And then once I've filled this cup up, I'm going to take a look at the poll and we'll decide who's in the lead and what we're going to do today. Again, just a reminder, if you just joined, welcome. We're going to be looking at the Celtic Cross next. I'd like to give you a chance to vote. If we have a tie, and we don't necessarily, it looks like True Heart Intuitive is the winner here. So we've got about 56 votes. That's enough to get going. So I'm going to end the poll and we'll get started. Thank you, everybody, for participating and voting. And let's begin here. All right, so we're going to be looking at the Celtic Cross here. Again, this is for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And this can be used for all aspects of your chart, including and especially sun, rising, moon, but you can also use it for Venus or anything else that you happen to know. We'll be doing some special a special deeper dive in sun, rising, and moon towards the end of the reading, so you can stay tuned for that if you'd like to. This is by far my favorite Eight of Cups card. Beautiful card for expansion. We'll talk more about that with the Jupiter energy coming through. Very auspicious. Yeah, this is a great deck for today. What I like about it is it's super colorful, and all the cards just have this sort of, they're familiar yet unique, which is kind of hard to do. So Rachel did a good job on this. If you haven't looked at the weekly collective, I just finished that yesterday, so you can get your 7-day forecast there. I always like to remind folks that I do weeklies, and I'm also doing dailies in the form of YouTube shorts, and they also appear on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I basically put those across all mediums. Okay, let's begin. I love that we got the Animal Guardian as your catalyst card today, and it says trust your instincts. What I see this as being is a very sort of environmental card, tuning into the environment around you, listening to, it's not just your third eye or your gut, it's basically the clairsentience where you just kind of walk into a situation and think, this feels right, this feels like it's my group, my spiritual tribe. Definitely trust that. And you're either in sync or not in sync with that sort of energy. And if you're not, I've been in situations like that before. It's very difficult to be productive, to be happy, to be able to sort of show up and do what you were expected to do when you do not vibe with those that are around you. I'm paying special attention to the owl on this one. So for many of you, I'm going to use what my guides are kind of putting in my head is, you know better, so you know best. So you'll know whether it's worth your time and energy before you speak, before you act, before you do something. Listen to that voice, because if you do, you're guided, you're great. If you don't, it's one of those situations where a couple weeks down the line, maybe a couple months, you'll think, why did I do that? Why did I agree to that? I knew better. So that's the phrase that keeps being placed in my head, which is know better and do better in this moment. So you don't have to kind of what if and think, why didn't I try that differently? I should have done this. So no should have, could have, would have. You know exactly what you need to do. Apply that knowledge now. And you're being guided and guarded and pushed in that direction in a gentle sort of nudging way, right? Your center card is a release of the energy of Five of Swords. So Five of Swords in and of itself can be probably one of the more annoying cards to pull in tarot, but when it's reversed, it's very manageable. It's basically understanding that it's fruitless to try to please everybody. And in some situations, there's a person who just isn't going to listen to reason, to knowledge, and has a hard time taking accountability for their own actions. So when you are approaching a person and they just tend to shut you out, or they'll never take responsibility, or they can only be correct and never have anything that they can learn or ever be wrong, this is something where this card is saying, you don't have time for this person, you don't have time for that situation, and you don't have to make everybody happy. And we see optics in a very big way being a part of the Five of Swords. So one thing to be aware of is that you just want to kind of put out the best possible energy and be aware of the surroundings. So I think this other person may be trying to cause some sort of a scene or a stunt, or they might be trying to use the interaction to their benefit. So it's more about what you can do for them by reacting. And so the best way to thwart them is to not react, or to react differently than they anticipate. So if instead of raising your voice, stomping out, or getting upset, if you are neutral and you say, so I hear what you're saying, I have some thoughts on that too, and you can share the thoughts if you want to, or you can say, thanks for the feedback, I'll take it under consideration, and then walk away rather than stomp out. Just be neutral. Don't react in the way that they would normally anticipate, or in the way that you would normally react, and then that's going to benefit you. It's going to upset them probably, and they'll go find someone else that's going to take the bait. Don't take the bait today. Okay, so that's the main message with that. And be aware that others are watching. Lead by example. Surprise this person by being stronger, and they'll feel embarrassed, or they just will think this wasn't worth my time. So because they're being watched too, and if you're kind of walking the higher path and showing what really should be done, then they're going to look like the crazy one, not you. Okay, so food for thought. We have the Four of Wands on top of this. And this is really saying you have more support than you might even ever anticipate. And when you're faced with this difficulty, for some of you, it could again just be, this can be yourself too, by the way. Readers rarely read it this way, but another way to look at this, particularly since it's at the center of your spread, is we argue with ourselves. And we try to talk ourselves in and out of things. And so sometimes we know what's best, going back to this owl here, you know what's best, but the inner voice tries to talk you out and won't let you win, won't let the wisdom win. So get a second opinion. The Four of Wands is a support group around you. It can be your friends, your family. It can also be legitimately kind of talking to a therapist or someone who has your best interest at heart, might be more objective than others. But the Four of Wands is someone that you can trust. So if for some reason you're not trusting your intuition, go to a trusted mentor or friend, get their true, off-the-cuff sort of advice, and they'll have your back. And the other thing here is that if you're feeling a little bit alone, this is saying go out there. This is a very receptive energy. Yesterday when I was doing my one card pull for everybody, it was the Two of Cups. But if you get the Two of Cups, the Four of Wands, or the Lover's energy, it's a very attractive, magnetic, and supportive sort of force for you. So there may be a challenge in your life with the Five of Swords, but there's an equal, if not greater than, support force that's going to be behind you that can help you get through this. This definitely, even though it's a lower card, it's a higher energy. Four of Wands, look at any of the golden cards in tarot are positive. So this will overpower the energy of the Five of Swords, and it's power in numbers, okay? So love, friendship, and support is coming through, and it could come through when you need it the most, which is a fantastic message. Let's take a look at the deep past. In the deep past, we have the Moon card. The Moon card is encouraging us to focus and maybe look at some things that we don't want to look at, because oftentimes when this card comes through, we already know something, but something like fear, anxiety, uncertainty, or just stubbornness will sometimes keep us from going and fixing whatever the moon is trying to show us. Moon is like your hopes, your fears, your dreams, and a lot of times it comes through in dreams. So pay attention to that. Again, the little voice is a big voice from Spirit, but it's coming through a little muted this month, so just pay attention to that. The thing that I like to remind people, and the sort of personal relationship that I have to the moon, is that there's always another way. Look at the path between the dog and the wolf. It's going towards the pyramid, the knowledge, which is leading to the moon, which is your intuition. So sometimes we have someone in front of us that lacks the ability to see. The dog is trained, the wolf or the coyote is instinctive and trusts its intuition. And so sometimes your challenge of the moment is the struggle between the two. It's between what you know and what you've been taught to know or taught to do. So trust the inner knowing and then take the path that you've been guided to take, okay? And that's all it really is here. You know what to do, but on paper or in training or in your head, you're trying to argue your way into doing something that you've outgrown, that you know isn't quite right for you. The moon can also be a tricky environment. So I mentioned morale issues being something to pay attention to. Try also not to get involved with gossip. So Moon and Three of Cups are danger cards when they're reversed, because it basically saying is whatever goes around comes around. So make sure that you're putting good stuff out there rather than any sort of gossip or even being in the presence of people that might be trying to do something cruel or harmful to others. Because on the weekend, I saw the center stage. It feels like that energy will reveal itself. So we don't want any of that for you. Instead, deal with what you're being guided to do, walk away from conflict, improve your sort of living or work situation so that you can be the best you. Because look what we've got going on here. Recent past, basically this is a chance to finish something that you've started and get some recognition for it. This card represents graduation, completion, also acclaim, not necessarily in the same way that you would have a claim in the Six of Wands, but it's sort of things that you can put on your resume, things that you're later going to be able to claim as an experience. It's a very good thing. So this is also saying if you've decided to go into any sort of training, I see you seeing it through to completion here. This is higher education, completion, diplomas. It's also for those of you that are writers, putting something down into writing. Even if it is not a traditional book, by the way, when I see someone writing, it can be scientific publication, it can be curriculum for teaching, it can be some sort of patent or whatever, but basically I see it going somewhere, I see an approval, I see recognition with the Three of Pentacles. It's good. So spend some time getting things wrapped up. And if you are doing anything like a contract negotiation or trying to sell your house or something of that nature, Three of Pentacles portends good things. Let's look at your crowning card, one of my favorites, as I said. By far the best Eight of Cups of all the different decks, and I have a lot. I'll have to count how many I have. There's some that I haven't even listed on my site, but I have a lot. This is definitely my favorite card for the Eight of Cups. It carries with it a slightly different interpretation, which is expansion. So we see this person taking a gateway towards Jupiter, and I have a very personal sort of relationship with that planet. Typically it comes through, and I don't see it as the color that's there. There's a there's a very sort of heart-centric energy whenever I meditate on the planet Jupiter. I see green inside the planet, even though we see sort of like the rusty and sort of like orange and yellow and all of that sort of external colors. There's this sort of green heart-centric energy when I look at the planet. So it feels like whenever I see Jupiter, it's about following your heart and allowing that to really bring you to a moment of expansion. The green color is also, I would say, like monetary gain or abundance and fertility and growth, because you kind of think of the green rolling hills and everything. So the Eight of Cups card in general would say, let's get some perspective. Let's walk away from something and figure out if we want to stay or go. So this is saying in this moment in time, you're being asked to clear your mind. And in order to do so, you need to get perspective. You need to take a moment and get some distance from something that you've been really close to for a while. A lot of times this is a big decision, maybe regarding work or a project or even a relationship. And you're so invested or so in the weeds that the only way to get perspective and get to that next big thing is to move away from it a little bit and look at it from a distance. Get a bird's eye perspective, which we see a lot of in this particular card. There were a lot of birds here. So that bird's eye view is going to help you out. Now, ultimately, the Eight of Cups is also a call to action. It isn't an immediate one. It is something where in the long run, you're going to have to make a decision because it carries with it kind of the staccato start and stop energy, which can be good in the short term, but in the long term, in like a relationship, usually there's a question of like, where are we at? Are you in or are you out? But you don't have to decide that right now. You just have to get some perspective and think, how do I feel? Where am I at? You have to figure out your own sort of energy first before you can answer that question. In the meantime, the door is open. So you get a chance to, if you are leaving like a job or a relationship, or if you're just taking a break, you kind of get an opportunity to leave an open door. So don't burn any bridges. Take advantage of whatever window of time you have to make your decision, and know that by the end of that window, you should be more than ready to move on to the next thing. We have heightened intuition, yet a little bit of self-doubt as we look at the near future here for you. And I would say for you, the biggest thing that you can do right now is to use the energy of recording that I talked about here. So as stuff comes through to you, just put it onto paper. One of the reasons as a reader I've come to love live readings, it's probably the same way that I think some musicians prefer to just tour and perform live, is because you're in the flow. It's fun for me to do a live. When I do a pre-recorded message, even the 1 minute ones, I have to edit more. And when I edit, it takes a little bit more energy, and you have to, this is just a lot more fun. And so one thing that I would say for you to get into the intuitive flow is just get a tape recorder, get your phone, get a camera like I have right now, or write. However you want to put this down on paper or on media, I should say, and any form is fine. Go ahead and just do that and get your stream of consciousness thoughts recorded. Musicians do that. They record a demo, a very rough cut. Sometimes, fun fact, the demo version from Titanic that Celine Dion recorded is the final version. She just went into the studio and the first recording was the final recording of My Heart Will Go On or whatever. Like she nailed it on the first try. So sometimes you are able to do that. When I don't really do this anymore, but I used to write some poetry. But for those of you that are poets or composers or writers, I do write now, but I don't do the poems anymore. But a lot of times the first download to paper is the most valuable. You can tweak a couple of things here and there, but as you start to overwork it, then you lose the form, you lose the shape. Same thing for those of you that work with pottery on a wheel. Sometimes if you overwork it, it just kind of is a mess, right? So don't overwork. Just record, just get a snapshot, and then come back and then decide what you want to take from that. Because you are receiving a lot of intuitive flow, and we talked about all the water symbology coming through. So definitely allow for that to just come through you, and don't second guess it. So more often than not, the first thing that we receive is the strongest, and then the rest of the stuff that we're doing is taking us further and further away from what Spirit wanted us to do. So that's my message here. The other thing is, it's kind of interesting. One reversal, I wouldn't pay attention to it. Two reversals, I'm paying attention to it. There could be a person in your life that is trying to test your limits. These two, when both would appear here, can show subtle manipulation or subtle, someone that's trying to use their sort of status, their skills, or even their prowess to see what they can do. We even see this with kids. Kids and pets will do it sometimes too. They're kind of tiptoeing and looking over and seeing if you're looking. So there could be the sneaky energy, which is a little more associated with the moon card. There could be the subtle energy, which is someone that's just trying to test and see if you're paying attention to limits. This can also even factor into looking at your credit card balance and making sure that there's no recurring charges that you weren't aware of. I recently noticed one on my bank with there was some sort of a data breach, and Amazon was putting like fake things on there, and I called Amazon. They're like, "That's not your account." So my guides, they were like, "Take a look at this account. You should look at your balances." And I saw that it had been going on for a couple months. So it can be something like that where it's subtle and they're testing limits, or it can be more overt. But just be aware of that. You'll be able to pick up on it like I did, and then just course correct. Okay. And it could simply be someone trying to make sure, like they're seeing if they can get away with not doing something they said they were going to do. It can be that simple. And you're just saying like, wait a second, I thought you were going to handle that. Am I wrong? And they'll say, oops, I'm sorry. Yeah. So you'll be able to catch it. A little course correction, very, very subtle, requires your focus and attention. And if you think to yourself, did I somehow not say that? Just go back into your records. You'll see that you did. And then you can use that. So that's why I'm asking you to record things. Keep good records right now and make sure that you're aware of timelines, deadlines, obligations. Hold others accountable to that as well. Okay. Let's take a look at what's going on with you right now. This is how you're showing up. I think you're getting above the stress. The Nine of Swords reverse is realizing like some things are me, some things are not. As I look at this card, I actually feel all of those. It's so weird. I've got like a big crown awakening, and it's almost like I feel each and every one of those points that's in this particular card. The reversal of this is saying, I know the difference between my stress and yours, my projections and your projections, and I'm not going to let this stuff get in the way of me focusing and concentrating. Many of you may be having a hard time falling asleep at night, not because you're tired, but you're running through the stuff from the day. You're worrying about, oh, why didn't I do this? Or did that person really say this? And how am I going to get this done tomorrow? And there's a lot of stuff that's going on. So for those of you that are stuck in that mental sort of cycle, make sure that before you go to bed, you do something to decompress. You could sit and listen to some music for a little bit. You could read a book. Don't watch the news. Don't watch anything that is distracting. It's almost better to hear or to read. Because it will tire you out. If I listen to one or two songs, I'm done. Or if I try to read a couple pages, or if you even have an audiobook that's reading to you, typically, and there's sleep timers on like Audible and things like that. You can, even if you have like Libby, the free app for libraries, all of these things I think have sleep timers. So you can put a 10-minute sleep timer or something and just listen to something that you know is going to put you to sleep. Take out that other stuff that's in your head, or listen to a singing bowl or meditation. Anything that can kind of help you not focus on that. And then, of course, yoga and breathing will help as well. Okay. So a little bit of stress reduction is necessary right now. Pay attention to your sleeping environment. Also, understand that if you fixate on what's stressing you out, that's not going to help. Instead, think, well, tomorrow's a new day. I'm going to deal with it then. Or this is how I'm going to face this fear, and then let it go and just think, in the moment I will figure that out, because otherwise you're stealing sleep from your body, and it really needs that sleep. So if you need help, reach out and get some help on that. But that's what I'm seeing is sleep deprivation or stress management being a major issue. And then also someone else that's trying to get into your headspace. And it's happening with, again, the Five of Swords. So if you can overcome this energy, you're probably going to be able to keep them from getting in your headspace. It's a lot of times just a little comment someone said. Maybe passive aggressive or something like that, but we're gonna say no thank you on that one. Okay, the environment is wonderful. We have the Wheel of Fortune in the environment, but it's reversed. The reversal of this is saying it's probably time to change focus, that you may be spinning your wheel in the wrong direction. So spin the wheel in the right direction, and focus on what you're being guided to do, what you're passionate about focusing on, etc. This is also saying it's time to reset. So if you've been spinning your wheels and stuck on a particular path, this is saying, well, in this moment in time, something new, something more exciting is opening up for you. Don't be afraid to ask for a little bit more. Don't be afraid to take a risk as well, because you have to get things moving in order to see some progress. So if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to know. And I think that's one thing that this card is trying to kind of emphasize. When we look at hopes, fears, and opportunities, we have a lovely Ace of Cups, and it's upright. So some of you have a chance to find love this month, or find something that you love, or deepen an existing relationship, or just feel very inspired. This is a channeling card. This is a sort of energetic flowing card. So if we connect the 3 here on a diagonal, this is saying your heart, your mind, your intuition are flowing, and that's going to help you create some exciting things. It also is what makes you attractive to others, because when you're in that creative flow, when you are feeling a sense of self-love, self-acceptance, other people are a lot more likely to feel connected to you and think, I don't know what it is about this person, but I just feel like I want to spend some time. It's probably because you're in that energy of love, passion, and intuition, which is, again, they're all attractive forces. So yeah, your heart wants to kind of like expand. So also connecting that to the Jupiter energy in the crowning card. When you follow your heart, only great things kind of await you here. All right, let's look at your destiny. Well, not your destiny, this is your outcome card. So it's the Chariot, and it's really asking you to take the reins and decide, what do you want to do? You may be faced with this sort of uncomfortable but probably necessary moment where things are sitting in your corner, and it's sort of like you're the only one that can do something. So don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to do it. Sometimes the fear of scrutiny that comes with accountability could be stopping you, but don't forget that we actually got a card here that shows that it's more likely that you're going to get positive recognition than scrutiny. And even if you were to receive some sort of criticism, it would be constructive in nature. So give yourself a chance to go there and see how far you can go. This tends to be kind of like a middle management card. So this doesn't mean that you have to have a title of CEO or boss or have any experience. It's just saying, I'm going to do this. It's ownership. I see it as ownership and accountability. Whereas the King and Queen of Wands, for instance, or the Emperor Empress card would very much be boss energy. So this is just saying, I own this, I do this, I'm fine, I've got this under control. Okay? And that's your main opportunity, is to take ownership and to show people that you do have the boss potential for those other cards that I mentioned, but it starts first with owning something. You do it, you're recognized for it, and then eventually that recognition can open up a door for growth if you want it. Okay, let's now take a look at the larger expanded forecast. We're going to look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. And we're still here. We'll be moving on to the more interactive pieces in just a moment. So with health, wealth, love, and destiny, I always like to begin with health. I like to remind you that I'm here to open up energetic pathways for you, help you connect to your own free will. But if there is anything going on with your mental or physical health, you'll obviously want to work with the appropriate professional for that, as I am reading tarot and energy. Okay, with that disclaimer out of the way, let's take a look at what's going on with your health. So we have the Wizards of the Woods and the Focus card here. This is very much 7 of Cups in tarot. So what's happening when this card is reversed is you're lacking focus. And when it's upright, you're absolutely connected to what you need to be doing. You can see that's the thing that I need to be paying attention to and putting my energy into. So it's really, this is a combination of 2 cards. The Magician, which also when not focused isn't very effective, and then the 7 of Cups, which is just distracted. So I'll pull both of these cards while we're talking. We can focus on how to maximize them. The cool thing with the 7 of Cups is that it tends to have the energy of exploration. And what I talked about earlier when I was saying, make sure that you're recording things or somehow putting them down on paper or on a dry erase board if you're working in a corporate environment. There's always time to come back later and decide how it fits. If you try to edit in the flow, it becomes very distracting because you are both trying to connect to source and be perfect, and it's not about that. It's just about getting it out and seeing where it leads. Yes, the Magician. I can only get one at a time here. So let's start first with the 7 of Cups. So the 7 of Cups is looking at all the options. With this card reversed, it's saying, I've spent enough time. You've spent enough time looking at that. Also, don't get overwhelmed by like shiny things. It's really saying there's one in particular that feels the best, that feels like I could get the most energetic return on that investment. And so that's where I would encourage you to put most of your time and energy. The magician has one of each suit at his altar, and we can see all the different elements in front of him. If sometimes all of those elements can be distracting, it's sort of like, let's show you a little bit of this, a little bit. Focus on what you're most drawn to, or what you're most you have the most acumen with, and together these two cards will make you unstoppable. You've explored the options, you've picked one of them. Now you're going to choose to use your many different skills to make one of those options shine. And sometimes if you think back to maybe like school and like look at a fresh graduate coming out, particularly I'll use the example of design. You could see someone that was a new graduate sometimes because they would try to put all their tricks in one sort of design, and someone who's been in the industry for a while knows how to just choose one thing and let it shine. Kind of like interior decoration or even like landscape architecture and all of that. You don't have to if you put too much together, nothing kind of pops. But if you have a very simple, unified design and there's one or two modern elements, it's the accent that really matters here. So think about taking something out, focusing on doing less but doing it better, and then whatever you have there is going to shine. So hopefully those two sort of cards and that example helps you with this. You have all the keys and you have all of the sort of tools, but you might be trying to do too much. This is kind of touching everything in the expanded forecast, but that's what I wanted to talk about first. And then the other thing here with the Seven of Cups, which you just saw, could be a lack of focus or concentration. So many of you may just be having a hard time with mental focus. So now bringing it back into the message of health. If it's just distraction, changing up the environment could help. If there's lack of clarity in the instructions, talking to professor, boss, or whoever created that curriculum, that could help as well. If there's something more, then you need to talk to a professional, because sometimes there can be chemical or cognitive issues going on. So that's the main thing that I'm picking up on with that first card is focus. Let's see what else is coming through for health here. Sleep and concentration also due to anxiety. So being able to deal with the stress that we're seeing here, definitely you want to pay attention to that. Anybody that has any sort of history of migraines or any sort of vertigo or anything else that can happen in the brain, in the inner ear, this is definitely something you want to pay attention to. For the rest of us, it's stress management. This is an interesting card, and I talked all about water and fluid. So some of you may just simply be dehydrated. Some of you may also have some blockages. So this is usually the urinary tract. So it could just be needing to drink more so that everything's flowing the way that it needs, but it could also be something like, kidney stones or things of that nature. So if you're having any issues, go to the appropriate professional for that. It can also be fertility, and it's with the card in reverse, stress is a big block for that. So trying to conceive when stressed, when dealing with a lot of environmental stress, it's difficult because that can hold you back as well. Otherwise, I feel pretty good about what I'm seeing here. No other major issues that came through. So let's go now from health to wealth. We have new moon, new opportunity, promise. I'll have to take a look and see when the new moon is, but this can align with the new moon, but we can also just sort of more broadly paint it on the understanding that you're entering into what, if we look, it actually came through by a nice new cycle. So we have the cyclical wheel of fortune by the new moon. So on the next new moon, whenever you watch this, spend some time thinking to yourself, this is what I intend to do. This is where I intend to go. I see expansion. I see recognition. I trust my intuition. I'm ready to reset the cycle and put this in a better sort of trajectory. Trying something new, leaving something old may be a part of this because we have old and new here. Making sure that there is joy, passion, and connection from the heart center in what it is that you do for a living, absolutely essential. Otherwise, you're just getting a paycheck, and it's kind of like you're doing yourself and the other person a disservice. So try to connect with the heart space if you can. We all go through periods of time where we don't necessarily love what we're doing or who we're working with, but we have to push through it. If that's the case, then I want you to think about your 1, 3, 5, 7-year plan. A lot of times they hit on the odd years. In corporate environments, a lot of times there's the 5-year plan. So this can help you, like if you're going to get training, if you want to make a move, if you want to do things, if you need a certain amount of money to do it, when you know where you're going to go in a few years, this all becomes more manageable then, if you're not really connected to it. But I see for many of you a new job. And interestingly enough, it could be through a relationship, through a friend that you know. So this is more word of mouth than something that you might find online, which is cool. And the Four of Wands connect us with that. So Four of Wands, Ace of Cups, and the Wheel of Fortune, very auspicious. You also have a really good chance of getting what you want. So this is a good manifestation card. You just have to get out of your headspace a little bit. Ask the tough questions with respect to environment and your growth potential if you are looking at new employment or if you're looking at present employment, because this card is saying expansion, expansion, but this is showing stress, and maybe some of you are just afraid to ask for it, but you have to ask. And if you ask, you have a good chance of receiving. If you don't ask, nothing's going to change, or it's going to take a lot longer than it normally would to change. So this is a really good time to talk about your plans and your goals with your current employer if you have it. If you're trying to look for a job, it looks like it's word of mouth or networking that's going to bring it in. If you're retired, I get questions about those that are retired a lot. It feels like it's time to do something more fun. You paid your dues, and you don't owe anybody an explanation for what you want to do. It feels like you want to take some money and do something like travel for pleasure, or do something more for yourself, and that's okay. But I see you getting some grief or stress from friends or family. So remind them that you spent a lot of time in the corporate world, or you spent a lot of time in your own business, or just working really, really hard, and you saved your money and you can do what you want with your money. That's what I'm kind of seeing with those collection of cards. The main block is a lack of communication. I don't necessarily see that there's a ceiling, but if any of you are getting like more of a wait or less of a return, like someone saying it's going to take another couple years before you can get this, definitely canvas and see what else is out there, because with the Ace of Cups and the Wheel of Fortune, you have a good chance of getting a counter offer if you want one. Okay, so it's pretty good across the board. Let's move into love and relationships. It's all about communication. We have Mercury here. Mercury in reverse, which is saying avoid miscommunications and be as open as you can. Get some weight off your chest, speak up, love and be heard. Love that. So Mercury reverse can say, like what happens sometimes is you're speaking too quickly rather, and maybe even just you're not even aware of how something sounds to a third party. So take a deep breath, take a moment, and think to yourself, what's their intention? How do I want to react? Is this important? Is this worth my time? Kind of walk through all of those real quick and just have eye contact while you're listening, then decide what to do. You don't have to immediately comment. You could just also ask for some time. Say, wow, that sounds so exciting, and it's a lot for me to process. Can I have, this is really good for a job offer, by the way. You should always have a few days if you can, but just say, yeah, I need a little bit of time. Can I sleep on it? Sometimes they'll give you a week, whatever, however long they're normally going to give you. Take the time, but ask at least for a day or two so that you can make sure that you're not in the moment on an impulse, unless you know that this is highly competitive and this is what you want. But it's always good to just say, yeah, let me get back to you first thing tomorrow. So you can ask for time, you can ask questions, and if someone said something that hurt you, get clarity on it. Say, I don't know if this was intentional, but that really hurt my feelings. What were you trying to communicate by that? And you can even say that last part first. Say, help me understand your intention, because I have some thoughts and I want to react. But if you're not intending what I think you're intending, then it's going to change. So what's going on? Just get the clarity first. They're going to know already that something's up. So speak your mind, but also if something seems like it's gone astray, get some clarity before you react, because your reaction could make it worse if they were actually not upset or were not trying to do something wrong. They do need some probably feedback on how it was miscommunicated, but let's try to elevate things. Let's look at this from the perspective of three different areas: those that are in love, those that are looking for love, those that are single and happy. If you're in a current relationship, this communication card is totally connected to the Five of Swords and the Moon card. The Moon card can be territorial energy. Five of Swords can be like nobody's quote unquote winning. Nobody wants to give any room to the other person for concession or meeting halfway. The answer to that is, first of all, at the beginning, at the core of things, you're friends. You've got each other's back, or you should, in a core relationship. So go back to this and feel that out and think, do I still like this person? Do I still love this person? If I do, and they're my friend, what are we doing here? What's this about? What is this really about? Because these things aren't necessarily compatible. So find the commonality, find what you love about them, and figure out why this is happening, and express frustration over that and say, I love you and I support you and you're my best friend. So that's why this is really hard when you say this or when you do this, because you're the person that I would talk to about this. I think that's kind of like a good beginning. You can say, and I believe we can work this out, but this can't go on. So set your boundaries, communicate, but grounded in friendship and love. I love you. You're my best friend. So we need to resolve this because I don't want to lose that. I mean, if someone isn't responsive to that, then that's a bigger sort of indication that you probably need couples therapy or something, because that to me is a good beginning to a good conversation. And just saying, like, one of the things that I saw, actually this did pop up in my dreams this morning and I didn't understand it, but can I just have a couple of minutes? And it was very calm, and I did see that it worked out, but just don't overdo it. Only a couple of minutes. Just say, I need just a moment. I'll hear you out, but I need you to hear me out first, and then put it out there. And let it be loving, let it be accepting. I feel like the other person might just be frustrated. There's a lot going on. This could be work stress, environmental stress. Even if for those of you that have a family, it could be your kids and you're both just sort of worn down, especially if you're new parents. So whatever it is, there's a lot of external stress that's getting in the way of the friendship, and you need to lean into the friendship. Space is good. I actually think space is really important for healthy relationships. So being able to take a walk and just kind of clear your head, being able to work in a different part of the house, being able to hang out with mutual friends or like your own friends for a little bit, and just kind of talk and clear the energy and get perspective. Whatever it is that you need to do, getting into nature, reading a book, doing an activity, or talking to one of your friends, that will help. Spend a little time apart so that you can come back together and be even energy. The rest of the stuff is pretty good. It does look like you can reach a good outcome. Somebody has to start this positive sort of trajectory, because I think the other person's waiting. So that would be my advice here. If everything's good, everything's great, there's no tension in the relationship, it is time to look at money and possibly what you want to do with like personal growth, because that's what I see environmentally coming through. There could be a little stress over money, so maybe just clearing that out. And I've seen a common thread across all relationship spreads for this upcoming month to just kind of focus on money, so I'm not surprised it comes through here as well. If you are single and looking, I definitely see friendships coming through, friendships that could develop into something much deeper, friendships that may come from work alliances or parties, or even work in general, because Three of Pentacles is work and the Four of Wands is friendship and love. So there could be a little bit of intermingling there. You want to be careful about that. Make sure that there's no policies or anything that are going on, that like you're not breaking any policies. What I do see with both existing and new relationships, so this is also applicable to the group that I was just talking about, is I see on and off energy. So some of you want to, if it's brand new, this is not a bad card. I would expect to see like the Ace of Cups, the Three of Cups, or the Eight of Cups. Three of Cups is dating. Eight of Cups is a little bit interesting. Sometimes it can be dating, an occasional hookup, some time that passes, then a call. It's sporadic. So the only thing that's frustrating with this is it's sort of like, but where are we exactly? So the timing is very sporadic on that one. So it might be good to have a conversation at some point saying, I really enjoy the time we're spending together. I miss when we have like long periods of when we don't connect. I want to make this more than it is. So you can have that conversation. You don't have to kind of say more than that if you don't want to, but figure out how to talk about if you want to be exclusive or if you want to see the person more, if you want more commitment. I see an offer here. I see managing expectations here. It does look like it's stressing you out a little bit, but it looks like it could go in the right direction. At the very least, it's going to get you out of wondering, where do I stand? Okay? So I think you might have that sort of situation popping up. This can also just be non-committal Usually I get it more with the Fool, but the Eight of Cups, if the Fool was here, it would be a for sure thing, but this can sometimes just be an occasional partner that you connect with and then long periods of time go away. And so you have to decide if that's enough for you, okay? But friendship energy, very strong this month. And if you do have a close friend, there could be periods of closeness and distance, but that doesn't mean that they don't care about you. And same thing for anybody in your life. Just because they are not talking to you, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It means that they're kind of on their own journey of expansion and growth. And so that's going to be the most difficult thing this month, is dealing with that. And there could be someone traveling as well for work or something of that nature. If you are single and happy, what I just talked about is really good. You can get a lot done by travel. And you can also reach beyond your borders this month, whether it's virtual or physical, and kind of meet up with some people, make some strong connections, strengthen some business partnerships this month for sure. Maybe finally get something signed, sealed, and delivered as well. It looks like it's going to be a really good professional and personal month here. And again, this could just be business alliances for sure, with the Three of Pentacles and the Four of Wands. That if I've ever seen a business connection, that's a business connection. Good creative partnership as well coming through with this. So it's a pretty good time. The only thing that anybody needs to be focusing on this month, irrespective of what kind of relationship status you're in, be honest with yourself, be honest with others, manage your stress, and don't project it on others. That's pretty universal, okay? There we go. Let's get into the Destiny deck here, or the Destiny card rather. And we have in the, I didn't even see that until now, in the flow. It's completely connected with what I talked about with the water symbol today. Everything is smooth sailing, unless it isn't. And the card reverse is saying when it isn't, it's actually still in the flow. So in the same way that like when you have stormy weather, that's still in the flow. It's just saying we need to get through this. We have to channel this. And sometimes that stormy weather helps push through a block that's been there. So some of you just have to kind of like sail through that and allow it to take you into a different path. So everything that I talked about earlier, direct application, and this is just Spirit giving us a little bit of a wink and a nod saying, when you're blocked, you're actually being asked to look to the right, to the left, up, to down. Stop going in that direction. When you have open doors and a sea of green lights in front of you, listen to that too, okay? A block or a rejection is still protection or redirection, and open doors are open doors, and that's an affirmation of your connection to Spirit. So let's move into the big idea. The big idea is, what's all of this about? Why am I going through this? What do I need to focus on? Good question. Let's take a look at the cards. Well, you got the ultimate boss card, the King of Wands. So we see him here almost like a dragon, breathing fire, surrounded by fire, really kind of even the bright colors of this card. It's all about you finding that strength, that power, that inspiration, and also being the problem solver. So I like the King and the Queen of Wands because they're very thoughtful, they're very successful in business, and they're very good at managing things. So if in your life you've been in a habit of going to someone else for the decision, for advice, kind of relinquishing or delegating your decision-making ability to someone else, this card is saying, in this month in particular, maybe it's time to pull the reins back a little bit and reclaim some of that power and energy. It could surprise people. They may not be used to seeing you in this more vocal or active or powerful role, but if the shoe fits, wear it and see where it takes you, okay? You definitely can do this. Even if you are not 100% secure in your abilities, the King of Wands is coming through saying, trust in yourself. You have born leadership qualities, and they may express themselves different than other people, differently than others, but just trust in your particular stamp of leadership, okay? Good. Keep an open mind, and let me see if there's anything else that I want to talk about with this. There is, even though normally King of Swords would be this, what I see with this, we're just going to get the walk part. So you may have already communicated, but I still see the flames coming out of his mouth here. So even though he's not typically associated with communication, he is very good at demonstrating. He is very good at showing how something is done. And communication is more than words. It is nonverbal, it is visual, and it is also intuitive. So be paying attention to the nonverbal forms of communication. It still constitutes communication. And he's kind of telling me, I'm still a communicator. I'm just doing it differently than everyone else. So there you go. We're going to move on to blessings and blocks. Blessings and blocks sound like what they are. Things that are going to enhance your experience over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Things that could hold you back. Let's look at the cards and see how they are showing up. Sometimes they're subtle, and you can have a blessing in disguise or a block that's actually a blessing, but let's just see if they're literal this month or coming through in a surprising element. Blessing is the Page of Cups in reverse. Block is the Three of Cups in reverse. All right, so we'll start first with the blessing. This card, in and of itself, is one of my favorites because it shows that there's a lot to love about who you are, what you are bringing to the equation, and basically it's also saying, I love myself enough to put myself out there and try this. Some of you may put other people first or may be afraid of what you're going to receive, but the card in and of itself is a positive, is an affirmative. So the only thing that you have to focus on is trust and self-love and self-acceptance. As long as that piece of the equation is there, you'll be fine. My guides are telling me that it's important to tell you that it's okay to love yourself, not in an egocentric way, not in a narcissistic way, none of that. It's just okay to say, I like who I am. I like what I'm doing. I respect myself. That kind of self-love and acceptance is good. It's healthy. So maybe you've been taught to be way too humble and not to appreciate what you're bringing to any particular equation, but you should appreciate it. You should see that you're doing something that you love and that people are receiving it, and that should also make you feel good because that means that, it's that symbiotic relationship. So it's okay to be happy, it's okay to be passionate about things, it's okay to love yourself, and it's okay to feel good about those things. Because that's just being emotionally grounded and, again, having a good sense of self. So I'm giving you confirmation and affirmation that happiness is one of the reasons that we're on this planet. Happiness and love, and happiness and self-love, it's important to just overall happiness. Otherwise, you're looking at someone else to fill the void, and we don't want that. So know yourself enough to say yes or no to things. Trust that you're bringing something really great to the table, and in doing so, people are going to receive what it is that you're giving, okay? Because pages give and receive energy, send and receive information, and so go ahead and put it out there. The block. There's always going to be someone that says something that is either critical, annoying, or just immature. The Three of Cups in the upright position is great. It's having fun, it's celebration, it's good word of mouth. In reverse, it definitely constitutes a block, and it can be a clique of people that don't allow others in. It can be negative comments that would constitute gossip. And it can also just be a remark that lacks either maturity or a constructive nature. So we all see that. We all hear that. You don't need to be online to hear that. Someone in your family can say something that just kind of gets under your skin. But definitely online, especially if you're doing social media, there's always one comment where it's just like, what is that? Why did that person take time to just say something mean? So I don't react. I don't feed that. It's not worth it. And it's made me a lot happier and healthier to not feed that, because that person typically is just not in a good space anyway. So it's not easy. Those of you that are in a public light, like teachers as well. I've told this story before, but like one of my favorite English teachers, I helped him one summer teach a class and learned a lot from him. And he was amazing. I think he's passed. It's been a long time since I've talked to him, but I have that feeling. But anyway, I helped him out, and we worked our butt off all day. And most of the remarks and the reviews are great. And then there were a couple that were just way out in left field. And he just rolled his eyes. He said, there's always one. There's always an angry person. He said also, and it was something that I remembered, if you're doing anything impactful or important, you're going to cause reactions. So that's just that person in that moment trying to deal with change. And He's like, let's go get a bite to eat. We did a great job today. I was like, okay. And that helped me keep it in perspective. The person that's way over the moon or way critical, usually we can take those out. And it's the stuff in the middle that has a lot more weight to it. Particularly the stuff way in the middle where they can see some of the pros and some of the cons. That was the most useful. So take it with a grain of salt. There's always going to be one person that can't be happy for you, that is jealous, that is gossipy, and you're not going to let this ruin your day. Okay? It may still affect you in the moment, then just take a deep breath, go take a walk, have a drink of, tea or water or something, clear the energy, let it go. Let's move on to viewers and readers' choice next and see what else we can discern from the cards and the messages in front of us. Okay, so definitely want to look at stress management because that came through as an important piece. So let me just get the poll ready here. So first things first, we'll look at stress management. The next thing that I want to look at is opportunities. So opening up new opportunities, because that was in the environment. We can look a little bit at dealing with difficult personalities. And let me see. I'm going to help you look at getting back into the intuitive flow, since that was something that that we saw in the channeled messages. So let me send that out for you to vote on. And what I'd like to focus on is this particular card in the flow. So what can you do to remain in the flow, even when spirit sometimes throws you a curveball and makes you want to get distracted, focus on something else? Okay, one of the most powerful cards here, because and this is just an amazing illustration of it, but we have the Four of Pentacles in reverse, which is saying, I am okay with letting this go. I believe that this is the tip of the iceberg, not the sum of everything that is here. We see the quote-unquote tip of the iceberg in the form of a moth in the background, and it's opening up, and it's kind of trying to have him look in a different direction. It's even facing a different direction. So traditional illustration of Four of Pentacles, you have that fourth coin right in front of your heart, and you're holding on really tightly. Here we see him looking at it and thinking, I think I might be finished with this. I think I might be done with this situation. And I know that this isn't it. I know that this is just a beginning. And instead of me being limited, I'm going to put this down. In the Thoth deck, they're foundations, and I get a little bit of that foundational energy in this particular illustration. So just see this as the beginning, as the very bottom of the building, and you're going to start to build up from here. So whatever you have had experience with or received, whether it's money, love, life experiences, there's more to come. The best is yet to come. And that's basically the message here for staying in the flow. The best is yet to come, and I'm capable of change. The moth, of course, being the final phase of metamorphosis for a caterpillar, for some caterpillars anyway. So, because they can either be butterflies or moths, depending on the species. But moths are kind of interesting because there is the more gentle nocturnal energy coming through it. And so for some of you, it's just taking a little bit longer to realize, but there is a change that's brewing. There is a change that's coming. And it's more a matter of not if, but like, when am I going to do this? I already know I want to do it. It's like judgment's already sitting out there secretly in the environment saying, you've made the decision and you're going to rise up, but it's just when. You have to just choose the when. All right, let's see what you are choosing for me for the next piece. Okay, so it looks like by 47% we have opening up new opportunities. So let's take a look and see what Spirit wants to show for opening up these new opportunities in your life. It's a great question. All right, let me turn the camera down and let's see what is coming through. So opening up new opportunities. All right. We get another card of optics coming through to help you reset mentally. So we have the Five of Cups. And notice how at both of these, the two fives were reversed here. So we have the Five of Swords at the center, where we see one, like it's from the point of view of the person that is feeling like I can't win. Everyone's against me. And then we have another interpretation here, which is I would have done things so differently if I had the chance. I wish I would have done this or this. And I maybe spent more time on that than I wanted to. That wasn't a great expenditure. This didn't turn out the way that. So she's focusing on all of the stuff that hasn't gone well. The card was reversed though, and it's saying enough with that. We also see all of the optics here. What will people think? So another hidden card that might as well be in the reading today, we have Judgment, which is like change is coming. When do you want to do it? And so it's just a question of when. And we also have the Six of Wands because the eyes are showing up everywhere. All eyes on you. Even here, there's a lot of optics in this particular deck. So it feels like we have a hidden Six of Wands visibility. So she's worried so much about that. How would I look to others? How am I going to show up? Behind her, she has Two Cups, which is love, which is acceptance. I talked yesterday because it was the card that I pulled, the Two of Cups. There's really nothing negative about it. It is a very, very good card for being magnetic, for being open, for partnering up. And it's basically saying you're missing the bigger picture. Someone is in your corner. For one, the Two of Cups represents love or support, and we got that in the form of the Four of Wands as well. So I definitely see a friend that you can lean on. It also is saying, love yourself, love what you're doing, you'll open new doors up. This isn't it. You focus on what you can control. So to go back to the point here, which is opening up new opportunities. All right, so these things didn't work. This. What now remains? What now, or if I'm going to try something again, how am I going to face it differently? What am I going to use as my learnings to really build up on that so that I'm ready for it? So it's just looking at it as a fresh day, new clean slate, and bringing not these 3 spilled cups, but the 2 cups there. And those 3 spilled cups could just be these folks. And we're going to let that go. And you're going to focus instead on what you have to offer and what other people that really care have to offer. Take those 2 remaining cups and do something beautiful. So a shift in perspective can change everything, and not caring so much about what people think is paramount to the success for you, for the future, and for opening up any doors that are kind of like standing on the horizon for you. So the older you get, the easier that is too. Not in a dismissive way, but in a way that is like, I've already been rejected, and this and this and this. I already know what that person's about. Who knows how many days we all have on the planet, how many years we have. I'm just going to have a great day today, and I'm not going to let that person's nonsense get in my headspace. And that is a message that needs to be repeated this month for you. Because, by the way, I have a Capricorn placement. It's in my ascendant, so I do have a connection with the sign, a deep connection with it. Capricorn is a problem solver. I use it in my business sense, but those of you that are born under the sign, it's like you have that green thumb. You can make things work in ways that other people don't understand. You are never really sort of at a brick wall. Only as long as you kind of feel like I can't get out. But eventually you're like, but I have a superpower. I'm just going to like melt through this, or I'll do this or do that. There's always a way, and Capricorn finds the way. So I want you to get back into your power, whether you're Sun, Rising, Moon, Venus, or some other aspect, and you're watching this, you can do this. You are a great thinking and strategic energy, and so you're going to be able to find that and use that to open something up. Stop worrying about what is done. It was all lessons in context. You're allowed to be bummed out about things, but start worrying more, start focusing more, start fixating more on what's possible, because the focus is where the power is this month. All right. Let's take a quick look at what we've done. I believe we're going to go to Sun, Rising, and Moon next, so it was good that we were talking about placements. So yes, we've done Channel Messages, Celtic Cross, big idea, blessings and blocks, the reader's and viewer's choice. So now let's move along to the placements. I like to focus on the 3 most common Sun, Rising, and Moon. So let's pull 3 cards. Let's look at the placements. We'll talk about how they relate to each of the associated All right, so let's take a look and see what's going on. Sun, rising, there's the judgment card, and moon. Okay, we got very different messages for each, so let's take a look here. For those of you who are a Capricorn sun, this is a really good month for you. And so this is for those of you that are born under the sign. We have the Three of Wands, and the Three of Wands is almost an immediate confirmation that not only can things happen, but they are happening. In the traditional deck, you would see the boats coming into the port. It's very small here, but if you look way in the corner, you can see the boats there. Sorry, lost focus. So there's but this person is standing right on top of all of that, manifesting it. We see the three birds, which also carry with it a little bit of air communication. So many of you are being asked to reach out in ways that you normally wouldn't. So maybe you're not super comfortable with digital communication, or maybe it's more in-person communication. Wherever your comfort zone normally isn't, please make sure that you're not discounting that medium or that channel. So multiple channels, at least 2 or 3, are going to help you out. And we see confirmation that it's happening right here, right now. So again, I always like a very active Three of Wands, and I would say the important thing here is to not wait at the top of the hill. So I like that this person's floating right over the water rather than looking at it from a distance. So get in the mix of things. So if someone is knocking at the door, answer that and meet that opportunity face to face. If you see something coming, don't be afraid to approach that opportunity as well. There's always this ability to connect, and it can happen even faster if you allow it to. So things are happening now. Don't be afraid to look in all the directions and the dimensions to make sure that you're not missing something, because the lack of focus, the lack of belief, so disbelief and being unfocused could bring you sort of delays, unnecessary delays. Miscommunications could also bring that about. So trust in what you're seeing. And also this flow card that we got here in the flow has to do with making sure that you're paying attention to where you're being directed. And for those of you that do things like social media, it can also be like, where is the engagement? In traditional business as well, what are customers connecting to? What are people reacting to? And that kind of helps inform what you should be focusing on and creating more of. But it's going to be a great month for the Capricorn suns out there. Three of Wands, movement, change, and development is happening right here, right now. Moving on to rising or ascendant. This is for many of you that have a placement like I do in the rising. It's going to affect your business connections. It's also how you project yourself. It may not be all of who you are. A lot of times it's kind of like where you want to see yourself. But this is a good gut check to see, is this how I want to be perceived? Are things going the way that I want them to go with respect to business and work, etc.? So here's the hidden judgment card that I was picking up on. Judgment reverse, which I talked about in one of my dailies this past week, is all about the universe is kind of waiting for you. It's already been decided. You already know what's possible. The delay now has to do with release and surrender. And one of the most important things that you can do in spiritual development is basically understand when it is the right time to surrender to the love and the opportunity that's in front of you, to surrender and let go of something that you don't need. And this card is about answering the call. We have Gabriel there connecting you to Source and saying, hey, are you ready for this? If you're ready for this, there's some great things. You're done with that chapter. You're done with that experience. I've got something better for you. Don't worry. I've got your back. So the universe has another rabbit up its sleeve, to use a metaphor from the weekend, or in its hat, whatever. And there's more to come. The best is yet to come. Death and judgment carry with it that message, which is there's always transformation, there's rebirth, there's reinvention. So don't be afraid to embrace something new. Accept what you're being called to do, and know that you are much more than a one-trick pony. The judgment card shows that reinvention is part of your secret sauce. So don't doubt yourself, even if others do. Use instead the element of surprise and show them exactly what you're capable of. Moving on to the moon sign. Your patience is being tried. So for many of you, What's going on right now is this sense of, when will it be my turn? Why is this taking so long? When in fact we saw with the sun sign, things are already happening. They just may not be happening in the direction or in the form or shape that you were expecting them to be. So the Hanged Man is saying, wait a second, there's more to be revealed. This story is not over. And again, going into the mythology, Odin had to wait longer than expected to get the secret to the runes. We have to wait just sometimes a little bit longer, and then it becomes obvious. Take a step, take a deep breath, take a step back. Remember what we learned with the Eight of Cups, which is just a little bit of perspective can help you out. So step back, look at this again, consider it from a different angle. Think, well, what if I tried this direction or this approach instead? Read up a little bit, do some research, take a pause and really inform yourself in this moment in time. Patience is key. And if we go back to quickly to the presentation that I did, we had this particular slide which showed the Temperance Angel and the Star card, basically 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So, and you could also say like one step at a time. So one of the messages here, sorry, we're going to moon, for all of you in the moon sign is basically to focus on one step at a time. It doesn't have to be the full everything at this moment in time. One step is still one step. Even if we wish that it was happening faster or clearer, you're still making the movement and the progress necessary. Okay? All right, so let's quickly take a look at what we've talked about and what's left here. So we're now entering into the final portion of the reading. I have a special piece at the end that I call the final card. I know that all of us have questions that I can't necessarily cover in specific. So if there's something that I didn't cover in the general reading, hold on to it, scribble it down, or just hold it in your mind for a couple of moments, and then I'll pull a final card and you'll get I'll look at it. It's usually not just a yes, no. There's going to be some shades of meaning, but I'll take a look at that question at the end. In the meantime, one final opportunity to like and subscribe, to follow me on social media, or to show a little support if you'd like to. Let's now get set up for the meditation. So I like to meditate for about a minute, play the sound bowl for about the same amount of time, and then we'll go ahead and look at that final question. For today, I want to work with the energy of Jupiter. So this is a beautiful card, and I think it's a really great energy to meditate with. So imagine that whatever in your life could be causing you a sense of stress or distress, you have this moment, you have this opportunity to decide, I'm going to release that energy from feeling like it's tethering me. So imagine that you are looking out at the universe. There's this beautiful stairwell leading up towards the planet Jupiter. And just like this figure, you can walk away from or get some distance from this situation. Even if everything's going well, maybe there's even room for more growth. So you're going to take a little break energetically. So imagine that there is a permanent road between where you're coming from and where you're going, so you can come back to this point. You can even put a little beacon of light here, which we'll use later to travel back in. So imagine that you're putting this sort of blinking spotlight like a lighthouse, and it's shining towards Jupiter. Meanwhile, you're going to walk on this cosmic road and find your way to this beautiful swirling planet of light and energy. Jupiter almost had what it took to become a star. Instead, it's just a massive force in our solar system. So as you're looking at all the swirling gases on this planet, imagine that there's this place where you can just sort of sit and connect with the planet from a safe distance, like one of the moons of Jupiter. And as you're sitting here looking at this massive planet, listen to your inner voice. Listen to the sound that the planet would make energetically as well. And when I'm playing the singing bowl, imagine that your heart and your mind can expand and take you to a place you maybe have never been to before, looking at possibilities. So ask yourself the question that you need an answer for, and we'll look at it in a moment. But for some of you, it may be, what's possible? What do I do next? Why am I still connected to that? Should I stay? Should I go? All of you might be asking a different question. Just focus on one. Don't give Jupiter too many questions, just one. And if you really want to tap into the potential of Jupiter, ask, where can I grow? Where can I see the most growth in my life? Because invariably, that's what I see Jupiter as, is the teacher for growth. So connect with that energy or your specific question as I play the singing bowl. And then after that, we'll come back and we'll look at your final question. Back to our bodies on planet Earth, I want you to imagine that from this vista, you could almost give Jupiter a hug. Just imagining from this point in space and time, you could just reach your hands out, kind of like we would with the sun or something else, and just imagine that you're giving gratitude and thanks, and also embracing the energy of expansion in the heart center. Take a few deep breaths, and then look over your shoulder at that beacon from planet Earth, the beautiful spotlight that is shining and blinking. And the next time you see one of the rays of light coming towards your body, travel back within that ray of light towards your body on Earth, allowing yourself to connect with your third eye or with your heart, entering into your body and taking a few deep breaths as you do that. And before we look at the final card, rub your hands together, connecting with your heat, your light, and your physical self. Put your hands on your heart, sealing your intention, sealing the knowledge that you receive from Jupiter, allowing yourself to be grateful, present, and empowered to see what's coming through next. And now let's take a look at your final card. So, in this point in time, remind yourself what that question was that you needed some clarity on, and let's turn to the cards and see what the guides and what your higher self wants to come through. All right. All right, we're going to have a past, present, future reading for this one because we got 3 cards. So I'm going to honor it. All right, so this is the order in which they came. Here, I'll just show you this way for a second. So we have past, present, and future. So let's begin with the past message, which is temperance, which was featured earlier today. So temperance reversed. So you have a 3-part kind of breakdown. So whatever your question is, the thing that's affecting you from the past, the lesson that you still need to learn is the importance of patience. When we are patient, when we are aware, everything's possible. We don't make a mistake. We don't have as much to fix because we're working mindfully and with a beautiful, magical premeditation that's going to ensure that everything is happening the way it should. So don't lose your temper, don't lose your patience, don't lose your focus. Temperance wants you to take it one step at a time, calculated, cool, calm, collected. in this moment in time, things are happening, and they're happening at a sort of rapid pace. So that's why it's important to keep your wits about you and to keep your focus. So right now, this is the answer to your question, if we're looking at past, present, future. So the present environment is saying it requires a yes or a no from you. This would be an affirmative because it's in the upright. So it looks like you know what you need to do, and you feel confident about the step that you need to take. So your own internal feeling on that one is accurate. But yes, you should move forward. Yes, it's time. And yes, your actions will actually have a big impact right now. Things happen quickly with Knight of Swords, perhaps more quickly than any of the other knights. And your words and thoughts manifest almost in real time. So be mindful of that. The best is yet to come. We have the Two of Wands in reverse. Don't limit your potential, because the Two of Wands reverse can be missing something. So because things are happening quickly right now, I don't want you to lose sight of, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's capture that. Or, oh yeah, I almost forgot. I said I was going to do this. So be mindful of what you said you were going to do. Be mindful of what you're capable of doing. Be mindful of new inspiration that comes your way. But by and large, it's a yes. The Knight of Swords is basically saying, this is the time, this is the place, but you do need to take action on it. And your words are important. Words and actions are being watched and are directly affecting what's going on in your life. So a slightly more detailed answer, because I pulled 3 at once and I just decided in the moment to look at all 3. So be patient with the Temperance card here. Act quickly, even though you're being patient and being sort of zen. You do have some things that require immediate attention. And then don't lose focus on what else is kind of possible. We see this happen with companies sometimes. They grow too big, too fast, and they forget to innovate. They forget what kind of made them who they are. So make sure that you're not losing track with all of that. Okay, let's go ahead now and wrap up here. One last chance just to say thank you here. First of all, if you haven't subscribed, let's do that. We're getting closer to a milestone. I think I'm about 1,500 away from being able to do that video that I want to with you for a Q&A. So let's make that happen in the next month if we can. Follow me on social media, please, for updates and just to sort of see some of the short form content that I do as well. Remember that I don't use DMs and I don't offer services on those platforms. This is the only place that we can kind of connect and you can show love and support. If you want to do that, you can do that through SuperStickers, Super Chat. And in fact, I want to say thank you so much for everyone who has. First, I want to start with new folks. It's good to have you here. I hope you join me again. I do weekly, monthly, and now short form videos again on a daily basis. I'm experimenting with that. We'll see how that goes. But lots of different ways to connect and lots of different sort of amounts of time that I spend on all of those things. So feel free to look at that. If you are a longtime supporter, thank you so much. And today I want to just acknowledge any new members or anybody that gave a super sticker or super chat. So let's do that. By the way, later this week, I'll be reading for Aquarius and Pisces on Thursday and Friday. And sometime on this weekend, I'll be doing the collective. I may do it a day early because I need to pack up everything behind me. You're starting to see boxes because I'm moving out this time next week. So more to come on that. But I may actually do my collective a day early. I'll put a poll up this week and see, perhaps. All right. So members. Okay. Joining today, we have Tammy. Thank you so much, Tammy Julian, brand new member. Vegas Virgo, thank you very much as well. Brand new member also, and I saw you at the beginning. Let's see, Krista Crow as well, rejoining after a month. Good to have you back. Julie Hall, and I think everyone else I mentioned on yesterday's reading. So those are the brand new folks. And now for some super stickers and super chat, and then we'll wrap it up for today. All right, so today, kicking things off, we have Michael Stather. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that generous 111 contribution. Lots of love and light to you as well. Much appreciation. Missy Gordon, thank you so much too. Vesta Alvesta, I think it is. Thank you. And SEK, so that's Sweden, right? Thank you. Good to have you here. I'm not sure. It's evening time there, I think. So thank you for joining me. And Cut and Paste Life. So good to have all of you present today, and hope to see you again next month on a normal time. And I can't wait to be moved in. This part of moving is always the trickiest part, packing up the boxes and also trying to do this as well. So thank you for being patient with me and supportive with me as I've been dealing with all of the changes in my life as well. All right, everyone, have a lovely day, lovely month ahead. Actually looks like some really great energy. So make the most of it, okay? Take care of yourselves. I'll see you soon. And until then, be well.